Welcome. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our family here at EWTN. And we want to hear from you. And the way that we can hear from you is you will send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, today, I mean, really, it's going to be a great show.
Indeed it is.
We have an old friend. Well, old, we're all getting old.
We are.
Chris isn't old, but we're old in life, and here we have Chris
Old
Slattery.
is a good thing.
Old is a good thing, it's true. Chris Slattery, who is the president of Expectant Mother Care, and he's up there in New York City doing an unbelievable work.
Whole network of pregnancy medical centers reaching out to what's called the abortion capital of the country, New York City, and we don't want to tell his whole story, but he is just a living icon of the history of the pro-life movement, and still filled with vim and vigor, and doing an incredible work that's going to inspire everyone that's watching today.
Yeah, so we want you to stay tuned. But you know, one of the things to stay involved in the pro-life movement, because it's not a trendy sprint, right? Sometimes we can have Christianity and, oh, that's trendy and that's cute in our Christian journey. This requires fortitude.
There you go.
This requires courage. and so that's one of the pillars that we have to stand on, right, is fortitude. In order to endure, he got involved early on. So did we. We got involved in the late 80s. And there's no turning back. And we have said countless times, we will do this work until our dying breath, right?
Yeah, that almost happened too.
That almost happened until
my heart attack in our center.
Right, at the center.
But Joy, you mentioned the virtue of fortitude, and whether we're in pro-life work, we're moms, we're dads, grandparents, we're facing sickness, illness. We're living in a country, in America, whatever's going on in your countries throughout the world, that's becoming more and more hostile to religious liberty, trying to dictate to the church our mission, how we go about it. We need fortitude, which is a cardinal virtue, right? One of the 4 cardinal virtues in terms of justice and temperance and fortitude. I'm forgetting one here right now, but 4 cardinal virtues.
Right.
The fortitude one speaks to us of strength, of going the distance. Again, a virtue is a disposition towards the good, Prudence is the other one.
Right,
we start with prudence.
It's not a word that you say much or that you even hear much.
But I've been reading the 4 cardinal virtues each evening. Prudence, look before you leap.
Right.
Wisdom in that. And temperance, of course, you know, no inordinate desires, having everything in their proper place. Justice, giving a person their rightful due. But fortitude, of which Chris Slattery, you know, reminds me of fortitude. It's a disposition to do the good. It's a power to do the good. And we're being tested. If you haven't been tested, you're going to be tested. Tested about what? To do the good, to persevere to the end towards goodness. And that goodness is defined not by me, but by the natural law, the commandments of God, Holy Scripture, the magisterium, what is good. So we have to form our consciences, but then we need power to do the good till the end. And I know so many of you are facing various tests, whatever they might be, in relationships, in marriages, in families, in injustices that have come our way, looking at the state of our nation and the world. We're not going to be overcome by these things. We're going to be empowered to stay steadfast and see it through all the way to the end, and to reject the various temptations that come our way to compromise the cross of Jesus Christ. And so I'm praying these days, like you, Joy, for a deeper fortitude from that root word forte, strength to excel at something. We look at great athletes or musicians or whoever it might be and say, well, that guy really excels at that. How many people say that guy really excels at being holy?
Right.
And we need more of that in our families, with our children, to pray and to give ourselves to that way of fortitude. I think of St. Paul's words, the things I want to do, I'm not doing.
Right.
The things I don't want to do, I am doing. If St. Paul had to say that, he said, wretched man that I am, who's going to deliver me from this bondage? Praise be to God who delivers us through Jesus Christ. So we want that virtue, that disposition of fortitude, so that no matter what the Supreme Court says,
right,
which are some good rulings, some bad rulings, of that we can abort babies, or that states shouldn't have medical standards. We're going to tell you what the standards are. We're going to say, you know what, there are some things that are just simply right. No matter what the Supreme Court says, this is a Supreme Court and judge that's up there. We're going to be respectful here, but we're walking in the way of the Lord all the way to the end, and we know that He will prevail.
And speaking about fortitude, even today I taught a class to our young moms, girls who were in unplanned pregnancies, some planned pregnancies, but talking about the beauty and the truth of marriage, right? And some people have made some different life choices. Here they are in an unplanned pregnancy. How do we reset? How do we say, I was made for more? I deserve to be loved, honored, adored, and cherished, not sexually used or abused or treated as an object in any way. So just to keep on saying that in truth and in love, and to be a person who's going to excel in fortitude and saying the truth, whether everybody's listening or believing it or not, it's still true.
We're going to have Chris Slattery, President of Expectant Mother Care. He's somebody who has fortitude, who is excelling. He'll be an inspiration to you. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you're an important part of the EWTN family, and we want to hear from you. So email us during this show, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, here we have with us Mr. Chris Slattery, and he is the president of Expectant Mother Care. If you want to go to his website, you go to emcfrontline.org or prolifeinterns.com. Now, Chris, we want to welcome you to At Home with Jim and Joy.
My privilege to be here. Thank
Well,
you so
it
much.
is our privilege to have you. And I want you to tell our family at home. We know how we got involved in this movement, and there was no turning back, right? And so why don't you tell our family at home, how did God draw you in? What captured your heart to say yes to this with no turning back and keeping your eyes on the prize, cost what it might, and it's cost you. So tell us.
Well, first of all, I had to come back to my faith to understand the importance of the cause of life. I had basically gone to Boston College and did not live my faith at a Catholic school in the early 70s. It was drug, sex, and rock and roll in those days for college students. It was wild. I got right into advertising in Manhattan, wild and crazy, intense work life. And then God brought me back to meet some serious Catholics. And I had a conversion on a retreat in 1978. And by 1979, I was at my first pro-life demonstration, the March for Life, 1980. And by 84, I knew I was called to a special task to found Expectant Mother Care. I discovered New York City was the abortion capital of America. We were looking at 110,000 abortions in those years. Stunning thing.
Like per year?
Per year, 110,000 a year in one city. And I just gave myself, all my spare time was to this apostolate. I said, God, you got no time for dating. You're going to have to send me the right woman. And then a year in, a volunteer came along who I took out for coffee and proposed to Eileen 3 months later. We have 4 grown children now, and she's been my rock to do this work. She's earned a good income as a school teacher. She's given us the financial stability for me to do this work full time for the last 26 years. And over these years, 150,000 women counseled, 43,000 rescued from a certain abortion, all starting with one woman back in the early 80s.
I just want to move slow and say again, 150,000 women counseled. I mean, and they come in all variety of situations, so many just kind of in despair. And you're saying some 43,000 that you know of, abortion, vulnerable women that have come in and chose life through expectant mother care.
Now, we don't rest on our laurels. We know that all of the success has come through God's grace and the hearts of the mothers, the prayers and sacrifices of thousands who have prayed for, sacrificed for these mothers, the mothers themselves developing great courage when they're given hope, when they're given real help. But we focus on the abortion-minded women. And I know with your pregnancy center here in Birmingham, you do the same. These are the vulnerable women. We still have 1 million+ women choosing abortion annually in our country, and 50 million worldwide. It's a crisis. It's a cause that we need to all pitch in on in some way.
I want to go back just for a moment in terms of your own conversion, because you said all this begins with conversion and really coming to own the faith that you were baptized into and born into. And you said some people had really influenced your life. Were these people serious Catholic people, as you've called them? Did they have the pro-life movement as very much a part of their expression of faith? Or did that come in some other way? Were you being touched by people in the movement?
No.
Or was it just coming to the faith and then understanding?
No, initially, I kind of discovered the pro-life movement peripherally. There really was a dearth of pro-life activism in New York City.
What years are you speaking
I'm
of?
talking about in the late 70s, early 80s. Our movement had been crushed politically. We were one of the first states to legalize abortion. We were looking at, in 70, 71, to 250,000 abortions a year. The movement had no political support. I just was not attracted to the politics of the movement. I started sidewalk counseling. And I once was on my way to work with a 3-piece suit on my way to an ad agency, and a woman called me over to this abortion clinic. I thought they were crazy. You know, what are they doing over there? You know. But at 7:30 in the morning, I got lured into sidewalk counseling in front of a plaza of a 50-story office building where there was a big abortion
When
mill.
you say sidewalk counseling, what do you mean?
I'm talking about people would reach out to the clients of abortion clinics on their way in, on the sidewalks, and in New York City, that's what they were, sidewalks and plazas.
Like the last voices they're hearing before they go in. That's the appeal.
And so I got called into it that way.
Wow.
I turned around, a mother bringing in her 15-year-old daughter, a black girl, short, 15-year-old, pregnant, talked with them, had no training, nothing. They kept the baby. I held that little baby girl of a 15-year-old in my arms in an all-black section, Crown Heights, Brooklyn, like 6 months later. And I was converted, man. This is, you can rescue a child. You can actually change someone's mind. A light went off. Wow, 110,000 abortions a year? Man, I better do something. What can I do? Then I discovered there was such a thing as a crisis pregnancy center. And I learned from others. I invited people to come and teach us how to do this.
But you know, you speak about when you experience something like that, like you said, and it was, you were kind of, I don't say reluctant, but it was like a Simon the Cyrene thing, like he got pulled right into it. What a privilege that is. But it brings this whole political debate and discussion, if you can call it that, and arguments which we need to have. But when you're looking at somebody going into an abortion mill, it's like surreal. It's like You can't believe it, but yet you know there's 1 million abortions per year or whatever it is throughout the country. It's happening. But then all of a sudden you see a person, a real person, who's in a crisis themselves thinking that this is the solution. She has a real baby inside of her. And this just can't be happening. This is not happening. And then you have the privilege of turning someone around and holding the result of that.
Right,
and
right.
You're never the same.
Now, we engage in both the office counseling, inviting people in through advertising, and appointment making to our pregnancy centers throughout the city. But we also send out teams of young people to the big abortion clinics like Planned Parenthood's, the largest chain of abortion centers in the world. They abort over 300,000 children a year.
It's amazing how many people don't know that still.
Yeah,
I don't know
Planned
how that
Parenthood
is.
is
They
the
think it's
biggest.
a good place to go for
The
women to
biggest
get health
abortion
care.
chain
Yeah,
in the
they're
world.
the McDonald's of the abortion industry. So we're out there in front of their places every day. Just this morning, we had 10 people outside of Planned Parenthood and other abortion facilities in New York, and they're engaging. They're getting catcalls, they're getting insults from passerbys, but they're focusing on the heart, the mind, and praying intensely for conversions. And they can happen.
Right.
And for instance, the mother might pray the night before going in, God, please send me somebody to talk me out of this. That happens at least a few times a week.
Right.
Wow, you're the answer to my prayer.
Right. You're the sign I was calling out to God for. You know, we had a client, and she had said to me, she had an abortion 10 years ago, and she said when she was driving to the abortion clinic, 10 times she turned around.
Wow.
10 times. I mean, so think of the struggle that she was going through. Well, she finally made it to the abortion clinic, and she did have that abortion. But when we were able to sit with her, now she was in another pregnancy later on, and we were really able to talk to her about that experience because she had never talked about that experience before. So clients come back to us, right? They're post-abortive, yet they're pregnant again and they're abortion-minded. So there's a lot of a human being that needs to be loved and who needs to have her heart heard. And that's what pregnancy medical centers do. We're there to love. We're there to listen. We're there to throw her a lifeline and to tell her the truth in love. And to give free ultrasounds and free
Right.
pregnancy tests
Right.
and free counseling, right?
We have a interfaith, multiracial staff of 5 full-time women.
Right.
A black young lady named Chantel, an Indian American woman named Dahlia, 2 Hispanic women, one is Yasmin and the other is Carolina, and then 1 token white lady named Kathy, Irish American. And these ladies are supplemented by literally dozens of other part-time or full-time volunteers that come temporarily, usually. We house them in the Bronx. We're keeping it young. The interns that work with the mothers throughout the city are average age of about 20, so we keep it young. We keep it ethnically diverse. We'll have a French girl like Malis who's counseling a woman from Haiti in French. We have, the Spaniards who come over for the summer and they're talking to South Americans or Central Americans or Mexicans. God is bringing people from all different countries to meet the most international city of America, New York, where the battle rages.
It's incredible. So I'm trying to image this again. You're in New York City, so they're different boroughs, right?
Right.
And they're huge. What boroughs are you in?
We're focusing on the 3 big outer boroughs where most of the population lives. That is Brooklyn, Queens, and in the Bronx. And that's where most of the women who get abortions are from.
Like, what's the population of some of those places?
Well, you take
I
Brooklyn.
think a borough, it sounds like small.
Yeah.
Like New York City is the big
Brooklyn, New York has a population of 2.7 million, with over 35,000 women getting an abortion from Brooklyn alone annually. Some of the neighborhoods of Brooklyn, a very black borough, The abortion rates are 60 or 65%.
Right.
From some of the poor sections of Brooklyn. There are more black babies aborted in New York City annually for the last 40 years than are born every year.
Right.
Which is staggering.
Right, it is staggering. But now you also mentioned that you're in one building that you are in New York, also is an abortion clinic in the exact same building.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're in downtown Brooklyn Borough Hall area. We're in the same building since 1999 with 2 giant abortion clinics, one of them Planned Parenthood. There are probably more women aborted in that building than the entire state of, or was it 9,000 abortions in Birmingham?
In the state of Alabama.
Then the whole state performed in the building in which we work, in Brooklyn. We're 3 seconds away from the killing centers by elevator. It's staggering.
So what floor are you on?
We're on 9, and the abortion clinics are on 3 and 6.
The abortion clinics.
Yes, are literally in the same elevator shaft with us. I mean, they're
Why are there
literally,
t-
some of them have the Planned Parenthood has the whole floor, the whole 6th floor, a mega clinic. And they have one in each of the 5 boroughs of New York City now. Now, remember, this is 2016, and 100 years ago, this October, Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood in New York City, opening the first birth control information clinic in Brooklyn, again, 100 years ago this October. So from there, a monster was unleashed.
Yeah. Now, I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of that. For a sidewalk counselor, do you get to stand on front of your sidewalk? You pay rent in that building, so are you allowed to go to their floor? How does that work itself out?
We like to not rile up the landlord too much. There are, example, how many abortion facilities are there in New York? Well, in 1 year, I've done a lot of different adventurous escapades. 1 year, we did a 5-day hike and bike vigil to every known abortion killing center in New York City. We prayed at 83 different sites. We don't have to go to our own building. 83 different places we prayed at where babies were being killed in New York City.
Chris, let's just hold it
Staggering.
right there
It is
for a minute. We're going to
staggering.
take a break. We're speaking with Chris Slattery, president of Expectant Mother Care. He's sharing a lot of difficult things regarding New York City being the abortion capital. I think he said 83 different killing centers. But Expectant Mother's Care is a great beacon of hope. Thousands of women have changed their mind and have chosen life, babies being saved. It's emcfrontline.org. Don't go away. There's more to come. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and remember, we want you to be a part of our show. So send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we can answer your question right here on the air. Now, EWTN Religious Catalog has a new compilation of Mother Angelica's straightforward solutions to life's puzzling problems, put together in a book form with the help of Christine Allison. And it's called Mother Angelica's Answers, Not Promises. And you can order this great book by going to EWTNRC.com or just give them a jingle, 1-800-854-6316. And remember, it's item number 80046. I'm sure it will be a great summer read. Well, we're going to go straight to an email because we got an email. Someone wants to ask you a question, and it goes like this. It seems that all too often the pro-life people that I'm around put too much of an emphasis on working to get conservative politicians elected, thinking that that will help the culture move forward. While I think that it's an important effort to get behind, how do we keep our focus on the babies and their parents? And this is from Albert.
That's a superb question, Albert, and I agree with you. And we do put too much of our faith and our action in politics. However, there is a vitally important presidential election coming up this year, and I would not want anyone to get the impression that they should stay home from the election and not vote.
Right.
Okay? But when it comes to spending the vast majority of your time, I believe direct action and service to the poorest of the poor, the unborn, as Mother Teresa said, and serving the families in desperate need, that is our first calling. And there are so many lives that can be saved, if especially we Catholics, who were the first and foremost on the front lines in the pro-life movement. If we take this cause seriously, we can rescue many, many more children. We can't depend totally on politicians. It's part of the solution, but often people put too many hours into it at the expense of direct action to help mothers and children.
Yeah. Well, I think even in our state, we found a great benefit in some of the laws that did get changed, with parental consent, with requiring a mother to have an ultrasound before she has to have an abortion, a 48-hour waiting period. Now, these are beautiful laws, and they are saving lives. In New York, you don't have these laws.
Impossible.
You're lawless for the unborn, and so is California. And so when we think about that, I mean, you're up against, there's no laws for the young mother or the unborn. A 14-year-old girl can go and have an abortion in New York without parental consent up to 9 months. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Now, when you hear this, I mean, people go, no, that's not true. It's true. And you're not going to hear this anywhere except EWTN. We're going to tell you the truth.
And the pro-life movement just got clobbered with a horrific whole women's health decision out of Texas.
Talking about the Texas case.
That
Right.
struck down.
Unpack that for us, yeah.
Yeah, there was about 3 years ago, Texas passed strict regulations requiring hospital-level standards for clinics to protect women's health.
Right.
The Supreme Court struck that down as an improper obstacle to women getting an abortion.
Right.
Dozens of clinics had closed because they couldn't meet the high standards, but these were sensible,
normal standards.
healthy standards to make sure women had emergency backup. And now
Right.
they're gone. So they're basically, this is the war on women's
Right.
health.
That
This
it-
war that takes away protection for women's health.
Right. Well, I just want to say that it is a war on women, because we had an abortion clinic here in Alabama. They did not have ambulatory access. One Saturday morning, women were hemorrhaging from an abortion procedure. They overdosed them with a bad drug. And this was the picture that the pro-life people got because they were out on the front lines. They were bouncing the women down the steps in wheelchairs. Because they didn't have ambulatory access care. And those women stayed in intensive care. Is that women's health care? Is that the best we can
So the
do?
law in Texas wasn't really a super high standard. It's saying if you're doing surgery, like other people are doing surgery in a facility, then here's the standards for all people doing surgery. And you might want to be able to get a gurney in and get it out, and have the ability to get girls
They
in
have
and out.
higher standards for animal care.
Oh, they do.
And animal hospitals in our country than we do for serving women.
humanity.
And we will be seeing within the year this documentary on Kermit Gosnell, the butcher of Philadelphia. So it's a sad situation. We still have to keep the pressure on the politicians.
Right.
But we have to do more on the front lines at the abortion facilities and in the pregnancy help centers.
Yeah, and I think that's critical, because we need to pray. We need to really support officials that are standing as much as they are for life. But yet you get decisions like this at the Supreme Court level, which is really, it's an unconstitutional decision. Where does the Constitution and the Supreme Court come in dictating to people about surgical care in their cities? And you really can get a lot of people that just get discouraged and say, well, I guess there's nothing we can do about that. I think your point is, I held a baby. Somebody was going in. I was a little reluctant even to get involved. They just put me, and I helped. You can save a baby today.
Right.
And I think once people get, because the feeling out there is that we can't make a difference. The law is so much against us. The Supreme Court is so much against, we can't do anything.
And there are people in this movement that think that, look, the whole goal of the movement is just to outlaw abortion.
Right.
As if abortion was outlawed, there would therefore be no abortions or nobody in need of help. And then our job, we close the crisis pregnancy centers. No, we need them even more. I mean, the fact is we can't solve all the problems of the world with legal changes.
Right.
We can improve it, and we need to make sure we have good Supreme Court justices, and the next election for president will be very critical. I think no matter where you live in the world, there are women with unexpected pregnancies that need help.
But you said, you know, as we were sharing in the back, the green room, you said every country has abortion. And I thought to myself, well, no, that's not right, because I know some countries where it's illegal, but you said they either have legal or illegal abortion. Every country has abortion. And that was, so even if you pass a law, you have it, and you should have laws that make it illegal, you're gonna have abortion. I remember growing up as a kid, somebody pointing to a place, this is before Roe v. Wade, 73, and everybody kind of knew that doctor's office over there, they do, and somebody said that. And I was, you know, pretty young still then, in whatever year that was, you know, 16, and I said, well, you know, like abortion, you mean like this is a place with, and we know about that? So it was there, even beforehand. So there's
and
always
so many third world countries, abortion is illegal, but there's the law enforcement is very lax, and there's so much more that can be done. We have a program where we bring people in from all over the world to train them in how to run pregnancy centers. We have our own house just to house young people, and we've had them from about 35 countries.
How many do you take a year?
We can take as many as 40 young people a year to live with us full-time for at least 8 weeks. That's where we have this website, prolifeinterns.com, where they can apply. They come in as tourists, and they do
prolifeinterns.com. So I'm not sure you have that one up.
prolifeinterns.com, and that is a site where young people can apply to work with us on the front lines. The greatest training ground in the world is the abortion capital of the Western world. There are more babies taken by abortion than any city in Western Europe or all of the Americas than New York. So we need the help, but it also provides a great place to learn how to rescue children and help mothers.
Well, you know, Chris, before we went to break, you shared, you know, there were 83 abortion clinics. You know,
And hospitals.
yeah,
And hospitals.
right. And here in Alabama, that we know of, there's 5, and you're thinking
Throughout the state. We
Yeah,
had
throughout
like
the
25 or
state.
30,
You know, but
so,
it's and it's still, one is too many, because they're doing god awful work, and so when you think of 83 and just the numbers that you're putting out, it's like we have to get on the front lines. We have to respond. We have to get out and do something. Why don't you tell us about some of the cases that you're seeing?
And you said you've counseled like 150,000
Yeah, that's
women.
true.
So you might
now,
have,
you know, in recent years, of course, I am not
Yeah.
as much involved in the counseling as I was when I was younger. I want the young people to do most of it now. But I remember the Khans. They were They were from South Africa, but they were Muslims, and they were discriminated because their skin color was not the black skin color of the blacks of South Africa.
Yeah. Wow.
They had to leave because they couldn't survive the discrimination they were feeling in South Africa. So they illegally immigrated to New York. And they were a gorgeous married couple with 2 children. And the 2 of them, they were just so desperate for money, they wanted to take their 3rd child's life. So I said to Mr. Khan, what do you need, Mr. Khan, to survive and to have this child? Well, I need work. What do you do? He said, I do body work. What do you mean body work? You're a bodybuilder? No, I fix cars.
Yeah.
I said, well, okay, here's a list of auto body shops. Go get a job. He says, I need tools. I can't get a job without a tool, without tools. So we bought him $1,500 worth of body shop tools, gave him a list of places, bought him a bike. He went shopping for a shop, found a job. Baby daughter was born, gorgeous baby girl. And you know what? I didn't try to convert them to Catholicism. I didn't give them a talk about Jesus Christ. I just thought that in this case, look, I am Jesus Christ, and whatever, that girl is destined for great things. Sometimes you do God's work without words. You know, you just do what you have to do for a couple.
Right.
And it's not all about aggressive proselytism and preaching.
Right.
It's about being Jesus Christ for these people. And one other case, Russian couple, she's 23, married and divorced already. He's 43, married with teenagers. We arranged an adoption. I gave them work. They were painters. They painted religious icons. I employed them for a year, gave them a room in the pregnancy center, set up an art studio, and the adoptive parents are about to see her be the valedictorian of her high school at age 18, and possibly for their high school, she'll be the first probable Ivy League school student from that high school. She's a beautiful concert pianist as well, and her father, her adoptive father, is in the New York Philharmonic as a violinist. So they went from a Russian couple, not destined to have this baby, to another artistic family, and she's going to be a world-leading musician and brilliant young woman, because we were there to offer them something extra, which is real help and real hope.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what the statistic is exactly, but they've interviewed so many women who've had abortions, and they asked them who was involved to help them, and really none of them had much help, but they said, if you had a person, just one person, what do you think you may have done? It's like 80% said if I had one person. Pope Francis talks a lot about accompaniment, and what if one person was with me or accompanying me along the way, just helping me to sort out and hearing my fears and giving me information or options or something, I think I would have chosen life.
Do you know, Jim enjoyed that there are over 350,000 encounters in pregnancy centers annually in the United States.
350,000 encounters, wow.
We have more pro-life pregnancy help and health centers than there are abortion mills today.
Right.
This is something we should be very proud of, but these centers often struggle. We need more professionals involved in them, that is nurses, doctors, etc. We need more money to run them well. This is a great way for Christians and Catholics to put their faith into practice. Whether they're supporting your center in Birmingham or ours in New York City or whatever country you're in. If you don't have a pregnancy center, start one up.
Yeah.
Right. Or, and the most important thing is to do something, because it is such a great need. It's like, well, what can I do? Well, come and you will get trained.
Exactly.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I didn't know how to sidewalk counsel, but what did I have to do? I had to show up on the sidewalk. You know, and it's like, you know, get there and then God will help you, you know. And I didn't know what to say, and finally I would say things like, what's it going to take for you not to go in there today? And the one girl turned around, she goes, I need a place to stay. I was like, come on, come home with me, right? And we did that.
5 times.
Five times, but you know, is that what it takes? Then come on.
Sure.
But you got to show up, you know, to be a part of the solution, that you can say, do you need a place to stay? Do you need a job? I can connect some dots for you.
Yeah, the connecting of the dots is just so critical, because it's not just one thing. There's a variety of needs. So you might be able to provide some of that, or at least you know the resources.
Right.
And this is what's not happening for people that, especially the women that are so overwhelmed, maybe abandoned, disillusioned, and somehow they find your place. How do they find your place? So why are they going to your place?
You know, now I'm taking a master's degree in psychology from Divine Mercy University.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand the human person better. We Catholics we see the person beyond just psychological complexes. We have to see the souls in the people we counsel. We have to have we have to give them freedom to make the decisions, but we have to be loving, kind, Christ-like to them, and understand their histories, their medical problems, their past abuse, everything that's brought them to the point where they're in despair.
Right.
You know, there, but for the grace of God, go on. You know, many in our movement have been part of a past abortion, have suffered, have our own issues, okay? We're not perfect.
Right.
We're not the saints and they're the sinners.
Right.
We're the sinners alongside of them.
Right.
So I'm recommending to those in the pro-life movement to take a master's through Divine Mercy University in psychology, which integrates Catholic philosophy and theology into modern positive psychology.
Right.
We're talking with Chris Slattery, expectant mother care, great beacon of hope right there in New York City. You can always reach him in that wonderful ministry there. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are an important part of the family, and you know, you could come to Irondale, Alabama. We would love to have you. You could join us live right here at home. You could meet us. You could meet our wonderful guests. All you have to do is contact the EWTN Pilgrimage Department, and you do that by emailing at pilgrimages@ewtn.com. Just give them a straight up call, 205-271-2966. We would love to have you in beautiful Irondale, Alabama. Well, right now, as usual, we're going to go straight to Rome to hear from Joan. Joan, what do you have for us today?
Well, greetings from Rome on a very hot day. Is it hot where you are? But of course, it is July, folks. But no, today I want to talk about with relation to Chris's work in protecting the unborn in New York. I want to talk about some words that Pope Francis said at the Angelus on July 3rd. And he was talking about our baptismal vocation to be missionaries, to be evangelizers, to be bearers of the good news. And you'll see in a minute how I'm going to link that message with your work, Jim and Joy, with Chris's work. Now, the Pope said, first of all, the Christian must be aware of the difficult and sometimes hostile reality that awaits him. Jesus, in fact, minces no words, and he says, I am sending you like lambs among the wolves. And the Pope continued, hostility is always at the beginning of the persecution of Christians because Jesus knows that the mission is opposed by the work of the evil one, by Satan. Thus, he says, the worker of the gospel will strive to be free from human influences of every kind. So the worker of the gospel, this person has to give up personal reasons to boast. It means being humble instruments of the salvation worked by Jesus' own sacrifice. And of course, isn't this what you, Jim and Joy, what Chris, what all of you are doing who fight abortion? And by the way, in off-the-cuff remarks, then Jesus said the people who do this, of course, bring us great joy. Now, the Holy Father noted how much the Church rejoices when her children receive the good news by way of the dedication of so many men and women who daily proclaim the gospel. He talked about good pastors, those we all know, nuns, consecrated people, men and women missionaries, and of course lay people. So this is what all of us are doing, really. Again, what Chris, what you, Jim and Joy, what all of your guests do. And so, by the way, I say to all of you, to Chris and all of you, do as Pope Francis says. He says, be not afraid. Well, time's up here on a hot July day, so back to you at home.
Thanks so much, Joan. What a passionate and just full sharing. And Pope Francis really has that nailed down in terms of like lambs in the midst of wolves, and that there really is, those who seek to lead a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. And yet, he's saying, be not afraid, you know, like John Paul and Benedict. And how do you sustain yourself? How do you, with these interns coming in, how do you encourage them? Is there a spirituality? I mean, how do you have fortitude? How do you go on?
Well, first of all, since my conversion, I've been a daily communicant. since the late 70s. And even when I'm traveling, I make every single effort to get to daily Mass and prayer to sustain myself, to really put this all at the foot of the altar, to keep going through all the trials and tribulations. You know, and I've been sued 7 or 8 times. I've been in jail 3 times for peaceful sit-ins. I've had 3 attorney generals in New York State come after me. Misunderstandings always happen with some regularity in the pro-life movement. So we all go through things. Every one of us, all the listeners, all the viewers, you and your family, you've been through challenges. We must stay very close to the Lord. But remember, in this cause, one of the things that's inspired me are the popes, the writings of our leaders. I remember from the airport, as he was departing on one of his papal visits to the United States, John Paul II, the great Saint John Paul II, said, "Woe to those who do not succeed in defending life."
Right.
Oh, and he meant, in other words, be good at your life saving. Do it well. Succeed at it. Life depends on our efforts. So I encourage everyone to be a student of this cause. Watch the great programming on EWTN, the Defending Life series, all your pro-life programs, the specials when there's a March for Life and things like this. Watch that programming. The great pro-life leaders are often guests on these shows or on the March for Life. Go and check out the great books and DVDs. I have a humongous library I've assembled over the years, and I share it with my young people. I'm constantly teaching. We have to stay up to date on the modern challenges, IVF and all the bioethical issues. We're just getting into the challenges, the challenges of euthanasia as we see a move to spread it in every state to legalize it. There's just so much that we must stay on top of. The Human Life Review is a tremendous quarterly we should be reading. The LifeSiteNews.com, LifeNews.com.
Catholic Register.
Yeah, the National Catholic Register, which has a awesome Culture of Life weekly section, the best thing in print. We must study, read the books of Dr. Bernard Nathanson, of Father Richard John Newhouse, Father Frank Pavone, from all the papal documents of the bishops on life. Become an incredible student of this cause, because we promote the EWTN new media missionary program, where you can get in the hands the newspapers, the radio links. I'm a Sirius satellite subscriber, so I can listen to EWTN in the car wherever I'm going, nationwide in the U.S. and Canada. I mean, just consume, feed on all the awesome teaching that our Holy Roman Catholic Church offers us. We just, whenever I get down, I put in a tape, I watch a DVD, I get another book to keep me going. And prayer. I mean, it's not just action.
Right.
And for some who are incapacitated or homebound, their sacrifice from their bed or from their couch, if they can move a little but can't get out, their prayers, their sacrifices will support those of us on the front line.
We often hear this phrase, offering it up. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for people in those situations that you're speaking about? How does that become efficacious? What is that about?
Yeah, well, I mean, we need to get we need to merit some grace through prayer, sacrifice, and mortification, okay? Of course, we don't earn our way to heaven. Okay, that's a gift. We're granted that gift. Our faith is a gift, okay? But faith without works is dead. And we must work like everything depends on God and pray like everything depends on Him.
Because it does. Because if we thought that this work that we were in depended on us, I mean, when you see, and you're with a counselor, you're a counselor and you're with a client, and all of a sudden you see her heart change. And yes, you were trained and you put out your best stuff, but she chose life. You know, the Holy Spirit showed up and revealed something to her own heart and soul.
And that's pro-choice.
Yes.
She's made a free will decision to choose life. And it has to be made freely, okay? We don't coerce the women. Of course, you know, our opponents say we scare women into having a baby or we terrorize them. Not quite, not quite.
Right.
Yeah, we can prick the conscience of a mother or a father considering an abortion, okay? But ultimately, God moves our heart. She makes her decision freely. Most women today are coerced or psychologically pressured into an abortion.
To have an abortion.
Yes.
Right.
Chris, we're going to have to hold it at that point. And thank you so much for your years of faithfulness, of sharing the gospel of life, of training others, generations to come after we're gone, to stand for the gospel of life. It's emcfrontline.org, emcfrontline.org. Go there, get more information, support this great work. And remember that life, marriage, and the family will prevail. God bless you. God bless all of your loved ones. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.